Hi, I'm Rainey. I've worked in recruitment for probably about 8 years now. Most of that has been in agency, and then the last few years have been in-house. And then over the last about 6 months to a year, I've moved into more software development in launching my own startup. So I guess like most recruiters, I'm across a lot of job boards, social networks, particularly stuff like LinkedIn. But I think part of the job also involves a lot of staying across the latest tools and all the different ones that come up each week. So stuff like TalentHub has been really helpful, particularly because it's free as well. It sort of seemed like a bit of a no-brainer to try, and yeah, I mean it's been really helpful in helping us recruit. Another aspect, I guess, of recruiting is you always want to be a bit ahead of the game. So you don't just want to wait for roles to come in or jobs to come in that you've got to fill. You want to proactively see good people as they come onto the market. So that's been another really helpful thing about TalentHub, is just being able to see those candidates that are there that maybe might not be for something you've got at the moment, but something you know you might be recruiting for in a month or two. I think probably some of the bigger issues facing smaller businesses is perhaps not fully knowing what they might be after at the beginning of a recruitment process, or even having alignment between managers or business owners within an organization. I also think a lot of, because we've got so much different conversations going on at once at the moment, like with email and on social networks or messaging services, a lot can get lost. So I think any sort of tools that would help centralize the conversation around recruitment and what people are looking for would really help that. So I think some of the most common mistakes, at least the ones that I've seen, is perhaps not having a clear idea of what the role is, and sometimes trying to fill maybe 2 or 3 different jobs with one person, which can make it very difficult to find that person, and also very difficult to keep them afterwards, because you don't want to be recruiting again in 6 weeks. So yeah. I think another mistake that smaller companies might make, or that I've seen, is they can be looking in the wrong place, because in some senses recruitment can be like marketing. You're trying to find a certain type of person, you're trying to find out where they hang out or where they look for jobs and things like that. So it can become quite expensive if you pay a lot of money to get a lot of exposure where your audience might not be. So yeah, I think looking in the wrong place could be another issue. So my first bit of advice would, for small businesses looking to hire, would be to really understand what you want in the person and how you can measure that success. And secondly, I would say around the way that you're building job adverts and your approach and things like that. Everyone really appreciates things that just stand out a bit, even if it's slightly different to a generic job ad. It will really stand out, because a lot of job seekers might see about 50, 100 jobs in a day, and a lot of them will sound very similar. But if yours even says something slightly different, like, hey, we have a dog running around the office or something, it's really going to make it stand out. I think another thing that goes down really well with candidates or prospective candidates for your company is transparency. You'll see a lot of, I guess particularly in smaller businesses, you might see a lot of things like stock photos of people in business suits shaking hands saying, come and work with us, and those people clearly don't work at the company. But if you find even photos that have been taken on like iPhones or something, or of the actual office and the actual people that work there, we always found that went down a lot better with candidates, because they actually knew, or they got a good idea of what it was going to be like there. I think another aspect to think about, particularly when you're recruiting as a small business, is think about, well, what are some of the things that are attracting candidates to work for a small business? What's the difference between working there and, say, a larger company? And a lot of what people enjoy about working in small businesses, things like ownership and being able to take charge of a certain area. They basically want to be that person, as opposed to just another cog in the big machine. So if you can somehow get that across in your communications, in things like the job ad or during the interview phase, I think that'll work really well for selling candidates on your company. I think my last bit of advice would be, if you can somehow test or assess somebody's skills, then definitely do it. You know, it doesn't have to be an intense 2-hour coding challenge or something like that, or you know, make an hour-long sales call, but just something where you can sort of see their actual skills as opposed to just what they've said, because some people can be very, very convincing at interview stage, so it's always worth probing if you can.